You're not failing at spirituality. You're just following the wrong map. If you've been meditating, journaling, forgiving, raising your vibration, and still feel stuck or disconnected, nothing has gone wrong. Many of the practices that you have been given were never meant to help you live your awakening. They were meant to keep you busy. And in a few minutes, I'm going to share the one question that cut through all of the noise for me, the question that finally brought me back into my body and into my life. But first, you need to understand why that other advice feels so comforting and why it's quietly keeping you stuck. And how do I know? Because I followed that map for years, and it led me further away from myself, not closer. Let me paint a picture. Tell me if this sounds familiar. You wake up feeling disconnected, so you scroll Instagram for spiritual guidance. High vibe only. You're a powerful manifester. Just raise your frequency. And for a moment, you feel better, inspired even. But then nothing changes. That same patterns repeat. The same wounds resurface. The same emptiness returns. So you think, I must not be doing it right. I need to meditate more, affirm harder, be more positive. And the cycle continues. But here's the truth. You're not failing at spirituality. You're just following advice that was never meant to heal you, only distract you. So let me say something that might make some people uncomfortable. Most spiritual advice online is just self-improvement repackaged as enlightenment. It's the same old fix yourself message, wearing chakra beads and quoting Rumi. And I know that's harsh, and I don't mean to be harsh. It is needed work, but you need a little something more, something a little bit more. And so that's the truth of it. So I'm going to break this down exactly what is happening and why it matters. Because there is a pattern. You have a painful emotion. There's anger, there's grief, or there's fear, sometimes a combination of all three. And the advice tells you transform it, transmute it, rise above it, which sounds really empowering until you realized what it's actually saying. It's actually saying this feeling isn't spiritual enough. Fix it. Do you see what just happened? You went from feeling your emotion to performing spirituality around the emotion. That's not healing. That's spiritual bypassing. And it keeps you in a loop because you're treating your humanity like a problem to solve. Your anger, it's a problem. Your sadness, it's a problem. Your fear, definitely a problem. But here's what I've learned. Those emotions aren't obstacles to your awakening. They're doorways. And I'm going to show you how to work with them differently in a way that actually heals. But first, you need to see the second trap. I call it the high vibe only trap. And we're going to talk about that toxic positivity wearing spiritual clothing. You're going to hear things or see things again on social media. Everything is a blessing. Trust the universe. You attract what you are. These statements, they're not wrong, but the way that they're used, I feel are really dangerous. Because when you're in pain and someone says, just raise your vibration, what you hear is your pain isn't welcome here. So you learn to hide it. You perform happiness. You spiritually gaslight yourself. And that disconnection, that's the opposite of awakening. Awakening is integration, not perfection. So if the popular advice isn't working, what does? Let me tell you what real healing looked like for me. It was messy. There were days I cried for no reason. Days I felt nothing at all. Days I wanted to give up on the whole spiritual path thing and just go back to who I was before. And it was slow. There was not quantum leaps, inch by inch shifts, patterns that took years to understand. And I'm still understanding them. Just a few days ago, I was feeling like I'm doing it all wrong. And I felt like I wasn't being true to myself because I'm trying to teach this and I'm still going through some emotional turmoil. And then I realized that's the humanity in you. And you have to understand that too. The emotion is good. You just need to look at it in a slightly different way. You need to find the patterns that are there, because wounds, they need time to heal. They don't need affirmations. They need time to heal, because it's non-linear. You take 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. Breakthroughs followed by breakdowns. And you know what? That's normal. In fact, that's what actual transformation looks like. Not the Instagram version, the real one. Here's what changed everything for me. I stopped trying to be spiritual, and I started trying to be real. I stopped asking, how do I raise my vibration? Keep on smiling. I started asking, what am I actually feeling right now? I stopped performing enlightenment and started honoring my humanity. And that's when the real healing began. So remember when I said there's one question that cuts through all of the noise? Here it is. Is this advice reconnecting me with my soul or disconnecting me further? So when you see that advice out there that maybe a little tiny bit of your intuition is telling you, no, that's not quite right, ask yourself that question. I'll repeat it again. Is this advice reconnecting me with my soul or disconnecting me further? So let me show you how to use it. Think of a piece of spiritual advice that you have been following, something you do regularly, a meditation, a mantra, a practice. Now place your hand on your heart. I tell you to do that a lot, but that is really important because everything comes from the heart. And I would like you to ask yourself, when I do this practice, do I feel more like myself or less? Does my body soften or brace? Does my breath deepen or get shallow? Your body knows the difference between real healing and spiritual performance. If the practice makes you feel more open, more honest, more real, keep it. If it makes you feel like you're trying to be someone you're not, question it. Even if everyone else swears by it, even if it should work, your truth matters more than their tradition. So let me give you permission for something. You don't have to follow anyone's spiritual formula. Not mine, not the guru's, because here's what I discovered. The spiritual path isn't about doing more. It's about being honest. Honest about what you're feeling, honest about what's working and what's not. Honest about the fact that some days you don't want to meditate or journal or stay in your feminine energy. Some days you're just tired or angry or done with trying to be spiritually perfect. In those days, they're just as sacred as the high vibe ones, because the goal isn't to transcend your humanity. It is to fully inhabit it. To be so deeply present with what is that transformation becomes inevitable. Not forced, not performed, inevitable. So if you've been feeling like you're failing at spirituality, if you've been following all the advice and you still feel stuck, if you're exhausted from trying to raise your vibration while your actual life falls apart, you're not doing it wrong. You're just following the wrong map. A map designed for performance, not for presence, for perfection, not for truth. But there is another way, a way that honors both your divinity and your humanity, your light and your shadow, your awakening and your exhaustion. And it starts with one simple choice: to be real instead of right. Because I'm going to tell you the one truth that changed everything for me, and that is you were never broken in the first place. And that belief alone, it might be what's keeping you in pain. I'll see you there. Until then, remember, real healing doesn't ask you to be perfect. It asks you to be honest. Sending you much love and many blessings. Bye-bye for now.